You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
I'm now joined in studio by Adrienne Dolphin of Rigney Dolphin Contact Centre in Waterford. Good morning, Adrienne, and you might start by telling me a bit about your own background, please.
Okay, my own background, I studied computer science in college in UCD back an age ago in the 70s. Came to Waterford and I worked in the college. At the time it was WRTC. I lectured there in computing and got married. My husband also was a lecturer. He's Frank Dolphin and he lectured in psychology. And we decided to set up our own business in 1990. We gave up 2 permanent and pensionable jobs and people thought we were absolutely mad. So we had 2 kids and a mortgage and a car and we decided we had this dream to set up a business. So initially it was a training business because we had both come from an education background, and for a couple of years we managed quite a number of successful training programs for quite large companies, mostly change management, changing the way that people did their work practices. As a result of that, we had worked for a number of companies. One of them asked us to take on a recruitment programme for them. At the time, it would have been about 1993, 94. They were doing graduate recruitment. It was Waterford Foods at the time. They had a programme where they wanted to take on 20 graduates and they had no one to manage it. So they asked us, would we interview a couple of hundred and give them a possibility of 60, 70 that could do the job. So we did, and they were very pleased with that, and the remaining candidates who were not successful in that programme, we got them jobs in other programmes. And so that's recruitment business developed out of that. That lasted for maybe 10, 15 years. We were providing contract staff, permanent staff, and one of our biggest clients in those days initially had been Telecom Éireann, then that became Aircell, and that became Vodafone, and we had been constantly supplying staff to them. And back in the late about 1996, 97, they asked us would we take on a piece of work where we would handle phone calls, not just put staffing into Dublin, that we would actually handle phone calls.
Just to go back now, this was over maybe a 10 and 15 year period. Right, yeah. You started off in the training industry. That's right. You then reiterated into recruitment, right. And then from there you became a contact centre.
That's exactly right.
They're 3 very, very different businesses. Very. How did you manage the change management yourselves?
We just took opportunities where we saw them. We were still doing a little bit of training, but as more and more people wanted recruitment, we gradually did more recruitment. Then it became a lot more profitable to do call centre work than it did. At that stage, there was maybe 10 recruitment companies in Waterford. And there were 2 call centres. So we sort of moved with the times. We were one step ahead of the posse all the time. We handled a lot of customer care calls, mostly in the telecoms industry for maybe 10 years. We were handling quite a number. At one stage we had 1,200 people throughout the country handling customer care calls. Then that market gradually changed. Some of that business went further afield, was transferred off to India, Egypt, because the markets was much cheaper to manage it over abroad. So we changed again. And we started handling different types of phone calls.
Tell me a bit about the different types of phone calls. Were they of a more sophisticated nature?
Yes, absolutely. So the last 3 years, we've got involved in the healthcare business. So we have a number in Waterford at the moment. We have a group of nurses handling healthcare calls for the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. So different type of person, still phone calls. A lot of it is customer care or it's patient care managed through our Waterford call centre. That's a different type of phone call altogether, different type of person, different type of service that we're providing. We still utilise the same equipment, the same buildings, same overhead, the same support staff, just different. We have now nurses, quite a number of them, and that business is growing.
And when did that eureka moment happen whereby you identified a new market segment as in the healthcare sector?
A contact made through Enterprise Ireland. Enterprise Ireland invited us to meet the Cleveland Clinic because they're a world-class facility, medical facility. They employ 45,000 staff, so roughly one hospital is about half the size of the HSE. They're world experts in medicine, but at the time we met with them, they had very primitive telecoms facilities. So they didn't have what we would consider a call centre. They had 5 people in one room handling calls and 10 people in another room. We streamlined their facility. We helped them design a brand new call centre and streamlined all their telecommunications. So their methods of communicating with their patients, we streamlined that over a period of about 2 years. And as a direct result of that, we were able to take some of their calls back here in Waterford.
You went over upon Enterprise Ireland's invitation to go and meet with the Cleveland Clinic. Tell me about the discussions that you had with them. How did they develop?
Initially, they were probably a little bit wary. They were slow to outsource it because they felt nobody could do it better than they could in-house. And we could prove, no, actually we can be just as efficient. We actually employ Ohio nurses, Ohio state registered nurses here in Ireland. We organise their visas and they handle the calls here because that's what Cleveland are more comfortable with. Their patient satisfaction rate has gone up by several percentage points as a result of outsourcing some of the work to us. And so as a result, they've recommended us to affiliate hospitals in the States.
Is it specifically in the healthcare sector that you're specialising now?
Yeah, for this particular piece of work, yes. We still handle telecoms calls, we still handle utilities calls, we do sales work as well, but our growth area at the moment is in healthcare.
And is that your future for the next couple of years, do you think?
I don't know, Karl. I was just talking last Tuesday night in the Ernst & Young evening here in Waterford. We were involved in the programme last year, which was very innovative for us.
Okay, that's the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award.
Exactly. We were delighted to be nominated to that last year. And we had a wonderful week in San Francisco. And we looked at various ways of managing our own business. And whereas for the last 10, 15 years, predominantly our main way of communicating was via the phone, we have now introduced other mechanisms or other channels for dealing with clients. So text, web text, email. We started being a bit more innovative in how we contact our customers and our clients' customers, and that's been very successful.
Give me an overview of your own business today and a breakdown of it in terms of sectors and the type of calls that you're dealing with.
Okay, healthcare, where we handle 2 main types of calls. The likes of care doc calls, where somebody rings up, they have a sick child, they want to know will I bring them into hospital or not. Those calls are coming from Cleveland into Waterford, they're being handled by our Cleveland nurses. We also call back patients who have been discharged from hospital to make sure they're following their regimes. And as a result of that, those patients don't get readmitted to the same number back into hospital again. So they're called post-discharge calls, and that has reduced the readmission rate. And in the States, that's going to be a big problem next year because hospitals are going to be penalised if patients get readmitted within a certain time frame. So they want to reduce readmissions. So our programme that we're working with has radically reduced that, and it has also increased the satisfaction of the patients, even hospital. So that's one area that we cover. We also handle calls for utilities. We still have telecommunication calls, and we have a large section of sales calls. We make outbound sales calls, both from our Waterford call centre and from our Derry call centre. You
were nominated for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year programme last year. Right. Tell me about that overall experience.
That was a super experience. We were honoured to be nominated for it. I don't know where the nomination came from. Somebody suggested that we should go forward, and we didn't think we would be finalists, but we were. We were one of 24 finalists last year. It was an amazing programme. We spent a week in San Francisco, a very full schedule where we had lectures, talks every day, visits to Google, Facebook. We had Apple talking to us. Had very innovative ideas thrown at us left, right and centre as a way of encouraging us to change the way we managed our own businesses. We were the only outsourcer there. They had come from a wide range of backgrounds, from food industry, from healthcare, telecoms, but we all had very similar problems. It was a very confidential, trusting group. People shared a lot of their own business experience, and it was very valuable to us.
And what did you get from it?
What did I get from it? Another way of looking at how we do business. To be part of 2 things. One, we're part of a group, part of a network, part of a club. I can pick up the phone to a number of people if I have an issue, and I know they will give me very sound business advice, and that's invaluable. We looked at our own business in a different way. In the last year, we've become a lot more web-focused than we would have been prior to that. And that's as a direct result of some of the lectures we attended to.
Well, Adrienne, it's been a very insightful interview. Many thanks for coming in this morning, and I wish you continued success with Rigney Dolphin. If you've just tuned in, you're welcome along to this week's edition of Business Matters with me, Karl Fitzpatrick. You can contact the show by emailing businessmatters@southeastradio.ie. Coming up after the news, I'll be speaking to Frank O'Keefe of Ernst & Young about their Entrepreneur of the Year programme, which is now in its 16th year, so stay tuned.